So this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy decided it was a game jam for Team Water. When the jam started, the theme turned out to be water. Oh yeah, that makes sense. So here's my plan. I've always loved fishing in games, like Minecraft. Now that I think about it, I've only ever really fished in Minecraft, so I've always loved fishing in Minecraft. So I decided to make a fishing game. In this fishing game, you would catch fish and sell these fish to upgrade your island. Pretty simple, right? So I started by adding this boat. I went with a voxel style because it's kinda like pixel art but 3D, and I'm trying to enhance my 3D skills. I use this program called Godot to make all the art, and let me tell you, it felt kinda sketchy to run, because it doesn't have an icon, and when I ran it, it immediately opened up the console, which freaked me out a little, but it turned out not to be a virus, just a weirdly made C# app. After that jump scared me, I decided to make this player move around. It looked kinda weird to just have the player looking in one direction as it moved around this big open area. So I had this particle system that only goes off when the player is moving. I then started working on the camera, because as of right now, kinda just sitting there and not even following the player. So I made it so that I can follow the player, and then I added this other where you can control the camera separately of the boat using your mouse, which led me to add this little toggle in the top right to switch between camera modes. I told myself I would add a better looking UI for this later, but spoiler, I didn't. Now it's time to make the theme of the jam, water. As Aya, one of the judges, made a whole video about water in video games is faked, because real fluid sims are expensive to run and they don't end up adding much to the game. My game was no exception. You see, in my game, water is just a skybox, except around the entities where there's this small animated box of blue. You know, it kinda looks like... Now it's time to get on to adding fish. I made this fish class, so all I had to do to add more fish was change a few properties in the resource. And for the default fish, I decided to use a yellow tank, because the only group of islands I could think of was the archipelago of Hawaii, and Google said it was a common fish in that area. Now that I added these fish, you could see a slight problem, can't you? No, you can't see any problems? That's the problem. You can't see where the fish are. So I started work on this little radar in the top left that displays the position of everything relative to the camera, but it turned out being really confusing, and you shouldn't have confusing stuff in Game Jam games. But I still needed a way to see the fish through the water, so I decided to go with this really cool looking effect that kind of mimics how I would imagine the sonar would see, where everything is black. I did this by simply flipping the lighting to negative and making it so the camera couldn't see the water layers. The biggest problem was it was kind of hard to tell which one of these items were your boat and which one of them were your fish. So I added this little light to the top of the boat to help you differentiate more. Now that you could see through the water, I decided to make it so you could actually catch fish. I went with this QT system where you first had to catch this dot at the angle you wanted to cast your rod, then you had to catch this line for the strength you wanted to throw your rod. This was pretty easy to make, as all I had to do was convert these 2D coordinates of X and Y to these 3D coordinates of X and Z. At this point, the game was getting pretty close to done, so I made this short. Tell me your favorite fish in the comments, and I'll add every single one. Now this short was a massive mistake, I'll tell you about that in a bit. But for now, I needed to add an inventory. The thing about me and inventories was I've made them so much I was able to put this whole inventory that displays the weight and health of the fish, which helps calculate how much the fish will sell for in about 20 minutes. The biggest problem with the inventory is that if the fish's name was too long, it would display off the edges here. But luckily, there's no fishes with a really long name. Oh, and also, kinda had trouble saving, so I just disabled the save button. Now let me check that YouTube short, and 16 fish. I have to add 16 fish, which is good for variety in the game, but it puts me in more of a time crunch than I was expecting. I was expecting to only have 3 to 5 fish to add, as that's the normal amount of comments I get on a YouTube short, but the only thing to do now was to get to adding fish. My favorite ones that I added were the catfish, the Huma, Kuma, Koopa, Koopa, hopefully I said that right, which likely does have a shorter version of the name, so I didn't have to remake the UI. However, adding all these fish caused me to make one of the biggest mistakes you can do while doing a game jam: not adding a tutorial. You see, a tutorial is extremely important because you want your players to understand and enjoy your game fully within 5 to 10 minutes, and having a good grasp of the fundamentals of your game is really important to enjoyment, and this lack of a tutorial really hinders your speed at which you can learn the fundamentals. It was time to upload, and I encountered this massive bug where you would kind of phase back and forth for no reason, and encounter massive lag spikes. But it was only on the web build, so it was nearly impossible for me to fix. I tried, but it didn't work out too well. And that's the whole game. Overall, I got 6th place out of 12. But GoDev and IADev, 2 of the judges, placed it as their 2nd place choice. And it got 1st place in the visuals category, which is really cool because normally visuals holds me back a lot. Yeah, thanks to all 4 of the devs that decided to host this jam, and bye.